Our next one is the County of Greenville budget for the year 2023. Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for adoption at third reading an ordinance to adopt the County of Greenville fiscal year 2023 budget. I believe we've got a couple amendments on that. I have one of them.
Okay, then Mr. Tripp has an amendment.
The first amendment is the Historic and Natural Resources Trust. I move to appropriate from available sources $1 million for the fiscal year 2023 budget for the Greenville County Historic and Natural Resources Trust. As part of this appropriation, Greenville County Council sets up the following guidelines. Number one, each purchase or acquisition of real property with a cost exceeding $200,000 must be approved by County Council. Number two, each purchase that requires County Council approval must be submitted to Greenville County Council Finance Committee for approval and must receive a public hearing in 3 readings. Number three, the approval process shall be set up in a similar manner to the FELO process so that the landowners may receive anonymity during the approval process. Greenville County Finance Committee may go into executive session to discuss the particulars of each land sale in order to receive legal advice from the county attorney. And number four, an annual report that discloses, among other things, committee activities, expenses, land acquisition, etc., must be presented to County Council by January 15 of each year.
Okay, we have an amendment to the budget. Is there any comments or questions on the amendment? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I got a question.
All right.
What does that fall in the budget, Mr. Cornell? What if we're going to get additional $1 million for this? How's that going to work?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, that would have to come from the appropriated fund balance.
All right. Any other questions? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we have the budget as amended before us now.
I think we've got one other.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if it's all right, I'll go ahead and on behalf of Councilor Harris and myself, make a motion to appropriate up to $400,000 in the FY 2023 budget for the Greenville Convention Center. And additionally, as part of this motion, Council would direct the administrator to coordinate and propose a viable long-term solution for the Greenville Convention Center. Just as we had talked the last time around, the importance of the Convention Center as an economic development tool that we have. My fellow council members would vote with me to appropriate this money as the short-term solution, even though we know that there's a longer-term solution that we need to consider. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So we have the amendment before us. Any questions or comments?
It's for a roll call.
Okay, roll call has been asked for. Gina, if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
No.
Mr. Meadows?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
No.
Ms. Norris? Ms. Zena? Yes. Mr. Fant?
No.
Mr. Bauer?
No.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
5 in favor, 7 opposed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to put one comment in the record, and I should have done it before. We don't want anybody to think that the people who voted against it are anti-city or anti-convention center. We know it's critically important. The reason the votes were no is because we want the convention center to survive long-term. We keep hearing a bunch of rumors, and I don't want to put the administrator on the spot or even get him to divulge information that probably shouldn't be divulged. But I know there should be some ongoing conversations with the city with regards to if the city's having trouble. I think the county's willing to take it open. If they can't afford it, we'll take it because we recognize it is a valuable part of the community. Now, here's my concern, seriously. I was told that the city is not taking contracts past June of next year, per the administrator. Well, I don't want to give $400,000, which would be in the 2023 budget, when they're not going to be taking contracts then, which would eliminate some major programs. What's that one I can't pronounce, can't remember the name of it? You would remember the name of it. Syntax something. Synex, yeah. But more importantly, you still got Men of Color, which is a national acclaimed program that is held there. And if the city's not willing to take contracts past June, I'm not comfortable just saying, here's $400,000, and you're not even taking contracts. So if we can resolve the long-term, if they're going to take contracts, if they want us to take it over, but that's why the no votes. Not that we're anti-city or anti-convention center. We just need a long-term solution because we want it to survive, and we're just getting mixed signals.
Is that, Ms. Stevens, I hesitate not to call, hesitate to call.
I know, I'm happy to save my comments until requests and motions if you'd like. It's not going to change the outcome of the vote.
Okay, if you would, please. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, is
Ms. Norris ever in?
oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Norris.
Yeah, I do want us to consider New Washington House.
Okay.
How much it could cost.
Okay.
But they do need
All right. Our next item is the transfer of county.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think
We never voted on budget.
Oh, yeah, that's amended. Budget is amended.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, we have the motion as amended on the floor. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we'll go to the next, the transfer of county-owned property. Mr. Drake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for adoption of third reading of ordinance to authorize the transfer of county-owned property located at 48 Ridgeway Drive, the former Woodfield Community Center site, to the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority, and to authorize the execution of a quitclaim deed related thereto.
Okay, we have a motion before us.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is the one I want to
All right,
talk about.
Bill.
I got excited. When I was given this at the break, I had heard discussions about this prior to our meeting. And it's a document signed by Senator Carl Allen, Senator Ross Turner, Senator Dwight Loftus, and Senator Tom Corbin, saying that the undersigned supports a request for $100,000 to be allocated for the maintenance and upkeep of the Woodfield Community Center. Now, I'm interested to know just how valid this will be, and I'm sure you are too. If we got $100,000 that's coming from the state to be spent on that community center, I don't see any reason why that we wouldn't hold it to see just how valid this is. So I make a motion that we hold this item.
All right, we have a motion before us to hold this.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Dill, did I understand you to say they have requested $100,000?
Well, it says they support a request.
Support a request. So we don't know if there's any money or not.
That's exactly what I said. I think we ought to hold this and find out just how valid this is.
Well, did you, I have a question for you, a friendly question. Did you receive that before or after you were served by a legal suit filed on behalf of
This
Senator
was
Carl
after,
Allen?
this was during the break, just to be a minute.
I'd say that's a hostile act by someone who's playing games, so I'd say we move on.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, the motion is before you now. Transfer this, all in favor, say aye.
Wait a minute, I make a motion to hold.
What?
Motion to hold takes precedent.
Okay. All right, I'm trying to get ahead of you.
Now, go ahead, I don't mind.
All right. Is that, motion is before us to hold. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Is the notes have it, and, sorry, Mr. Dewey, your motion fails. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, now we have the motion on the floor to transfer the property, in Ridgeway Any questions or comments on this?
Roll call, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Councilman, will you call the roll? Is a yes vote means that we will transfer it, a no vote means we will not. So you know what you're voting for.
Mr. Dillon?
No.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Meadows?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Reluctantly, yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman? Yes. Mr. Fant?
No.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
10 in favor, 2 opposed.
Okay. So this passes at third reading. Now we go to ordinances at second reading, and we start with Mr. Deal. Mr. Deal is CZ 2021-39.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the property of Silver Hawk LLC located at 200 Mill Street. That's in Travelers Rest. They're requesting rezoning from I-1 to RS. The Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval, so on behalf of the committee, I'm looking for approval at second reading.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Deal, let's go to number 40.
Okay, that's a property of SCP Dexter Augusta LLC located at 6901 Augusta Road. They're requesting rezoning from S1 to I1. The Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval, so I move for approval at second reading.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Mr. Deal, let's go to number 41.
That's a property of John Thomas Latham on behalf of Med Reynolds LLC located on South Welcome Road and Julian Avenue. They're requesting rezoning from R12 to RMA. Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval, so on behalf of the committee, I move for approval at second reading.
Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Deal, let's go to 42.
The property of Dennis Floyd Mann, located at 86 South Fairfield Road. They're requesting rezoning from RS to I1. The Planning Commission and the committee recommended denial. So on behalf of the committee, I move for approval of the ordinance at second reading.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. And the notes have it, and this fails. Mr. Deal, number 43.
The property of Lister Properties LLC located at 202 East Bellevue Road, 220, 222, 224, 226, 228, 230, Sunnydale Drive. They're requesting rezoning from R10 to R6. The Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval. So on behalf of the committee, I move for approval of the ordinance at second reading.
Comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Deal, let's go to number 44.
And that's the property of Lister Properties LLC, located at 220, 222, 224, 226, 228, Sunnydale Drive, and 202 East Bellevue Road. They're requesting rezoning from R10 to I1. Planning Commission and the committee recommended for approval, and on behalf of the committee, I move to approve the ordinance at second reading.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And this one passes at second reading. Number 45.
Okay, this is gonna make Mr. Lister happy because I think this is his last one. The property of Lister Properties LLC located at 208 Bellevue Road, requesting rezoning from I1 to R12. Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval. And on behalf of the committee, I move for approval at second reading.
Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And number 46, Mr. Deal.
The property of Sam Cox on behalf of JSCI County Line LLC located at 3326 New Eastern Highway and are requesting rezoning from S1 to C2. Planning Commission and the committee recommended denial, and on behalf of the committee, I move for approval of the ordinance in second reading.
Any questions or comments on this one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
Everybody recommended denial, is that not correct?
Mr. Deal, did you not say both the planning commission and the committee recommended denial?
Now, that's true.
Which
So if you wanted to vote against it, you should have voted.
document are we on, Mr.?
We're on number 46.
46.
I was on the wrong one, so I revote.
Okay, let's have a.
Let's do it again. On behalf of the committee, I move for approval of the ordinance in second reading.
All right.
And the committee's, planning commission and the P&D committee voted against it.
All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no.
No. Now we got it right. We were moving along so good with it.
Yes, I know.
And a bump in the road, a little speed bump.
All right, let's do number 47.
Okay, number 47 is the property of Ben L. Fuller, located on Poinsett Highway and Skyline Avenue, requesting rezoning from 7.5 to C2. Planning Commission and the committee recommended denial. On behalf of the committee, I move for approval
All right,
at second reading. Everybody said no.
all right. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no.
No.
All right, this one fails in second reading. Now let's go to number 48, Mr. Deal.
That's the property of Roland Philip Gaskin, located on Neely Berry Road, requesting rezoning from RS to S1. Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval. And on behalf of the committee, I move for approval at second reading.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, this one fails, this one passes. Okay, number 49, Mr. Deal.
Okay, the property of Gus Rubio, on behalf of Gabriel Builders Incorporated, located at 8699 White Horse Road. They're requesting rezoning from RS, to R15. The Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval. So on behalf of the committee, I move for approval at second reading.
All right, any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, Mr. Deal, number 50.
Okay, the property of Wyman H. McCrary Jr., located at 4801 White Horse Road, requesting rezoning from POD to C1. Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval. So on behalf of the committee, I move for approval of the ordinance at second reading.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and now we move to the comprehensive plan amendment. This is the Five Forks area plan. Mr. Deal.
Okay, on behalf of the committee, I move for approval of an ordinance to adopt the Five Forks area plan as amended to the Greenville County Comprehensive Plan 2020. The Planning Commission and the committee recommended approval of the ordinance. So that's my motion.
Okay, any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we'll go back to Mr. Tripp, Sage Automotive Interiors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval at second reading an ordinance authorizing a First Amendment to the certain fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Greenville County, South Carolina, and Sage Automotive Interiors, Inc. to enter into such other necessary agreements or amendments to affect the intent of this ordinance and other related matters.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we move to the Land Development Regulations Amendment, Article 3.1, Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of second reading and ordinance to amend the Greenville County Land Development Regulations to update the regulations with additional plan and plat information and traffic requirements, to add definitions, to provide rural conservation subdivision design standards, to repeal land development regulations, section 3.1, review criteria, and other matters related thereto. And I have an amendment to that, please.
All right.
On behalf of the committee, the committee of the whole, I move to substitute committee of the whole approved version of the ordinance, which is attached to the agenda package. Move for approval of the ordinance as amended.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I had personally put at each one of your places the staff summary and also the recommendation that came from the staff of the information that they put together from the public meetings that we had on the Saturday and all that. They put this together. Some of you have never seen it, and this is it. And I would like to make a motion to replace what's on the floor with this that was recommended by the staff.
We've got Mr. Tripp's, or amendment at the present time, so you're out of order on that, Mr. Chairman.
So, what's the reason?
He's amending the amendment.
Is that what you're doing?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the motion on the floor is the committee of the whole amendment, and I think he's trying to amend that with staff recommendation.
I want to put the staff recommended. We've heard a lot of people speak to that tonight.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the practice is to do something for committee amendment first, then all other amendments are then up at that point.
All right, but we can go back and do that.
You deal with committee amendment first, then it's open.
Okay, I don't mind that, Mr. Chairman, just recognizing
Okay, Ben?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask that, everybody has seen a ton of amendments. And we've been looking over the weekend and yesterday, and I know and you guys know, this is going to have long-ranging, lasting effects on how we vote. And I know we're divided on a lot of things, but I hope we're not divided on this, because it's long after we quit squabbling among ourselves, this will still be in place that the people have to live with. I would ask that we move this on to third reading, so we don't slow it down. I've had some discussions with some of you, so we don't slow it down. But in the meantime, we ask the clerk's office and planning department to take all the amendments that we've gotten, which is a ton of them, and insert them into the committee of the whole report, so we can look at it side by side and see exactly what we're amending and what we're changing. So when we come back in 4 weeks, we can be a little more informed, and hopefully we've had enough discussion among ourselves and can have some kind of general consensus of what we can vote on collectively as a group and everybody can live with. Because if we just rush through this tonight, we're going to end up with these little split votes, and your mailbox still going to get full, and people still not going to be satisfied. I want us to come back with something that we all can live with, and I really want to see all these amendments embedded in the proposed document. But don't hold it, just move it on to third reading with the understanding we will do amendments at third reading.
Mr. Chairman,
That's good.
I think we have to vote on the committee of the whole amendment, and then we take his amendment up, and then we can have that discussion.
Yours is the same thing as mine. You have to do that.
Is that really you're out of order, Mr. Plant, is on doing that, because we have the other motion on the floor, and we can't pass it on.
So we're trying to change the committee report.
No, this is for adoption of the committee of the whole report. What we pass the committee of whole, this is a vote on accepting that.
And then we can amend it on down the road.
And you can amend it after.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Everybody understand where we are?
Ask for a roll call.
My understanding is we had staff recommended one, because they're all supportive. Then that was amended to add, I believe, Mr. Barnes' amendment. Isn't that what we're
And
standing?
that's where we stand now.
Right now.
So if you vote
No.
yes, we're gonna take that,
That's where we go right
you
now.
take this,
Takes
and
up
then
that back.
it's up up for amendments here or whatever we want to do with it, but that has to be done first.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'm clear. So my understanding as well is that the committee of the whole voted on what the ad hoc committee put forward, and they sent that to the council of war. So we're effectively voting on the ad hoc committee's report.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Call the question.
All right.
Roll call.
Mr.
Question's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Roll call, we've got a roll call.
Yeah.
Then somebody else can-
We're talking about the amendment.
We're voting on the committee of the whole amendment.
Yes. Yes.
No. All voted yes to call the question. This is the actual vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on ad hoc,
Sir?
we vote on
Who
that.
votes on that?
Okay.
The county report, which is the same thing.
Which would include Mr. Barnes' amendment?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
And is that not
Y'all said you wanted.
what I was trying to
Oh, let's
amend?
have some order now, well, not all at once.
Was that not what I was trying to amend, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
It hadn't been passed yet, Mr. Deal. Yes, all that's come to us is what the committee of the whole has sent to us. And we're up now to either accept it or reject it. Okay? All right, Mr. McCaskill?
Mr. Dillon?
No.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Meadows?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
No.
Mr. Jubilakis?
Yes.
Ms. Norris? Yes. Ms. Seaman?
No.
Mr. Fant?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes?
Mr. Kirby?
No.
Mr. Tripp?
No.
7 in favor, 5 opposed.
All right, so it's on the floor now, the question came from the committee of the whole.
Now, I would make an amendment, as I stated a few minutes ago, to replace that with what the staff recommended.
Okay? So that is what the deal's amendment, is that we replace what we have just passed with the staff recommendation.
Roll call.
Mr. Chairman, I got a comment real quick. Regardless of this vote, I do have some follow-up amendments regardless of, I'd like to just put that out there. Regardless of how this vote goes, I have some follow-up amendments.
We'll handle that.
I understand, I just wanted to let you know.
Mr. Dillon, if we kind of had a gentleman's agreement, well, I guess, ladies, I'm sorry. A ladies and gentlemen's agreement that, because it's so many amendments, and it is going to be a total nightmare to try to sort through this right this second, could we not agree to let it, pass it tonight, as is, go on the third reading, and allow for amendments, and then give a chance to sort it on the second?
Mr. Vance, I'd like
You
to-
know how the vote's gonna go anyway, so I'm trying to help.
I'd just like to explain why I want to do the stats, and I think you should listen to what I have to say, because this is detrimental to my community. What came from the ad hoc committee, the reason that I voted against it is it's going to destroy my community. I've told you this in the committee of the whole, I've told you in the committee, I've said over and over, this is going to destroy my community. And I'm really afraid that that's what y'all are wanting to do. The staff recommendation took everything that was said and put it together, and it deals with everything. And there's nothing that I know that needs to be done, except I think we've got some amendments coming that might improve it. But now, I think we need to put the staff's recommendation on the floor, and that's what we're working with. And at third reading, we can amend it, we can do whatever we want to, or we can amend it here on the floor. But this is going to be good for all of us.
I know, but I hear you, but don't say what we got planned to do, because we've heard you. We've heard you loud and clear, and there is a consensus among council to work with you to strengthen 3.1 and make it something acceptable to everybody. So that's why I was saying, look, give everybody a chance to digest what you got, digest what everybody else has submitted. You know, I'm just trying to get through this peacefully. So once we do it, everybody everybody's happy and you don't have the community just up in arms daily.
Mr. Chairman.
That's just all I'm saying.
All right, Mr. Tripp?
So I'm going to support your amendment,
Fight, he
Mr.
wants to
Deal.
fight for his own community, but he fighting for somebody else's.
I'm going to support your amendment, Mr. Dill, and it's not far off from Councilman Vance's argument. We have a consensus that we need to do something, and I think the majority on this body has shut us out. There's 5 of us on this dais that fought for some rational discussion on this stuff, and we got shut out. And so I think if there's a consensus that we need to act, then I think what we need to do is go back to step number 1, which was the staff recommendation, and start from there. I would recommend we go back to staff recommendation. I would agree with everything in staff recommendation. There's some things I'm going to support with Councilman Harrison's amendments. There may be other amendments I support, but just to build trust and consensus back on this body, I think we need to go back to staff recommendation and work from there. So that's why I'm supporting your amendment.
Any other comments on the?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment just because I've been, the name's been mentioned a couple times, but, which I appreciate, because it was in support. And I agree with Councilman Vance's stance, and the reasoning behind it. But my concern is that, and I know there's been a lot of amendments thrown around, but there's also been a lot of amendments that have been sent to all council members multiple times that haven't gotten any feedback. So it's one of those things. I don't want to have such a slim margin of error with one meeting. It puts a lot of emphasis on one meeting. That's a lot of unknowns. So I don't necessarily know what the solution is, but I kind of agree with Mr. Tripp that there are some things in staff's version that I would like to see amended as well, and there's a lot of things in the ad hoc committee that I'd like to see amended. So, whatever this body goes for, I just wanted to make those comments that there has been discussion, there's been a lot of work put in this. So I don't want everyone to think that this is just, we're just putting this, kicking the can down the road because we haven't worked on it or haven't looked at it or haven't done any of that stuff, but it has been done. So I just want to make that comment before we move forward.
Any other comments? We've asked for a roll call. Regina?
Mr. Dillon?
What you're voting on is that if you vote yes, then we go back to what the staff is. If you vote no, keep the one that we have just passed. Okay?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
No.
Mr. Meadows?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
No.
Ms. Norris?
Staff recommendation, that we voting on?
Yeah.
Ms. Seaman? Yes. Mr. Vance?
No.
Mr. Ballard?
We're replacing what came out of the ad hoc committee with what the staff originally presented, going and understanding we're going to have amendments at 3rd reading. That's where we are.
We haven't done the amendments at 3rd reading yet, but that's where we are.
Yes.
In other words, it's overturning what your committee did.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
7 in favor, 5 opposed.
Amendments at 3rd reading.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept amendments at 3rd reading. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
those amendments have to come in writing.
Yes.
That according to our policy.
Through our policy.
Prior to the 17th
Just
meeting.
point of clarification. Thank you.
Can we not get those amendments in now that y'all gone back to the original one, can we not see the proposed amendments as highlighted in red embedded in the amendment? So we can compare them side by side and make an informed decision versus them being just standalone, so you try to figure it out the best way you can.
Okay. We'll work with the clerk on that. Okay. All right, the motion that's before us is we have amendments at third reading. Any other comments on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so be it then. So now we have the amendment. Mr. Dill's amendment is on the floor now as the main motion. And that is,
No, it's ordinance as amended.
pardon?
Ordinance as amended.
Yes. Okay, ready to vote? Please call for it.
Mr. Dill?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
No.
Mr. Meadows?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
No.
Ms. Norris? No. Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Fant?
No.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
6 in favor, 6 opposed.
You're voting on the amendment as amended with amendments at third.
Okay. Ms. Thompson?
Where does that put us, Mr. Thomas?
Ordinance just failed at second reading.
What is?
Ordinance just failed at second reading.
You know, ordinance failed on second reading.
It puts us back to the original 3.1.
So we're back to the original. No, it puts us back to where does it put us back?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, right now, we just got a typo on second reading, the ordinance as amended, and 3.1 doesn't exist in the council regulations, is still current regulation. It will be if there's no further action either this evening or future action.
Okay.
Now, you can ask if you want to reconsider.
Give me 2 seconds, all right? Okay. How do we get to how it came out of committee with her?
The motion to reconsider the vote that just happened by somebody who voted
On the prevailing side?
no.
Okay, I voted no, so I move to reconsider. I'm sorry. I'm sitting talking. I move to reconsider since I was on the prevailing side.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion to reconsider. It takes 7 votes to reconsider, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, roll call.
Wait a minute now, so which one's back up now?
Sir?
Yeah, we have to
This
vote
is
to reconsider.
Okay, we just voted to reconsider. Everybody vote once. Okay,
We open the debate again.
okay.
Okay. All right, call the roll.
Now you're gonna, this is a vote to reconsider
Consider.
the last vote. Yes.
Yes.
That's right, the vote that died.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Dill?
No.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Meadows?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
Yes.
Mr. Norris? Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Fant?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp? 11 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, is it
All right,
back?
now, we're trying to get back to the committee report that came from committee of the whole.
No, that's already done. The staff's recommendations with amendments.
That's not what you accomplished.
All right, it's what we did.
You gotta change your vote now, vote for it.
Staff's recommendations with amendments at third, which was on the floor.
Is the motion that's before us now is the motion that was amended by Mr. Deal. That we go back to the
Second reading.
second reading
Staff recommendation.
with the staff recommendation.
Not, Mr. Chairman, not to rank one of the things, but if it would help with that vote, to get us out of this mess, I do have several amendments to that motion. Would it help if I make them here, or should we wait till?
No.
Well, the last way didn't do us any better either, so I'm just trying to help.
All right,
We all vote yes to move on. How about that?
yeah, that's good, I go for that.
Yeah.
I vote for that.
Okay, let's see, so we have it before us, we're ready to vote?
Staff recommendation with amendments to third reading. That's where we are.
Yes, that's right.
Second reading.
Second reading, going there.
No, but he said, we're voting for this with the understanding of amendments at third reading.
We already have it.
He was just giving clarification, that's all.
Good. All right, all that's working, in essence, what we're doing is passing this and sending it on
Yeah.
to the council's third reading at next meeting.
Correct.
Okay, all right, all in favor of doing that, let's just call the roll.
Yes.
Mr. Barnes? Pettis?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
No.
Ms. Norris? Yes. Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Fan?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Is that better?
8 in favor, 4 opposed.
All right. It'll be sent to council at the next meeting, and there will be amendments at that time allowed. Okay, Mr. Tripp is Project Stagecoach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of second reading and ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Greenville County, South Carolina, and a company known to the county at this time as Project Stagecoach 1 with respect to certain economic development property in the county, whereby such property will be subject to certain payments of lieu of taxes and other matters related thereto.
Okay, any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, Mr. Tripp, you do Project Stagecoach 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of second reading and ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Greenville County, South Carolina, and a company known to the county at this time as Project Stagecoach 2 with respect to certain economic development property in the county, whereby such property will be subject to certain payments in lieu of taxes and other matters related thereto.
Any comments or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Right. Now we go to ordinances at first reading. Mr. Deal, you have many
I have a slew. I present for first reading zoning docket CZ dash 2021-58 through CZ 2021-66, CZ 2021-68 through CZ 2021-70. And for the record, zoning docket CZ 2021-26, CZ 2021-57, and CZ 2021-67 has been withdrawn, so we will consider it for first reading, but the others are considered.
Okay. So these will stay on the floor? I'm sorry.
Got 17 then.
Okay, Mr. Tripp?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I present for first reading an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issuance of Greenville County, South Carolina hospitality tax revenue bonds and other matters pertaining thereto, providing the form of bonds issued hereunder, local hospitality taxes to the payments of principal of premium, if any, and interest on the bonds, and making other covenants and agreements in connection with the foregoing.
All right, this is the revenue bond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I present for first reading an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale by Greenville County, South Carolina of one not exceeding $27 million in taxable hospitality tax revenue refunding bonds, Series 2021A, and two not exceeding $5 million in hospitality tax revenue bonds, Series 2021B, and other matters relating thereto.
And then we go to Greenville County Special Source Revenue Bond. Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I present for first reading an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $60 million Greenville County, South Carolina Special Source Revenue Bonds, Series 2021, authorizing the execution and delivery of the Series 2021 bonds in connection therewith and other matters relating thereto. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I present for first reading an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Greenville County, South Carolina, and a company known to the county at this time as Project Bingham, respect to certain economic development property in the county, whereby such property will be subject to certain payments in lieu of taxes, including the provision of certain special source credits and other matters related thereto.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp. Now, go to Project Care, Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I present for first reading an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Greenville County, South Carolina, and a company or companies known to the county at this time as Project Care, with respect to certain economic development property in the county, whereby such property will be subject to certain payments in lieu of taxes and other matters related thereto.
Now, Mr. Tripp, Project Care is related to Anderson County Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I present for first reading an ordinance to amend an agreement for the development of the joint county industrial and business park, 2010 park of Greenville and Anderson counties, so as to enlarge the park.
Now we go to committee reports, and Mr. Tripp, I believe you have a committee report from the committee as a whole.
Yes, sir. On behalf of the committee, I move to remove the board member representing District 22 on the Historic Preservation Commission due to excessive absences.
Okay. Any comments on this motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Tripp, I believe you have one other resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the committee, I move to authorize the county attorney to settle the lawsuit known as 2016-CP-23-05425 according to the terms discussed in executive session.
Okay, any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now it's the time in our agenda that the citizens want to talk about things that are not, it's not on the agenda. This is the appropriate time. Do we have anybody that signed up for that?
Mr. Chairman, we have two individuals. Brianna Shaw has signed up to speak about pickleball.
Okay. Marina Shaw, she here? Who is the second one? Or do we have a second one?
Yes, so the next one is John Moore, also to speak about pickleball.
Is John Moore here?
I think pickleball people left.
All right. All right, then we go to the administrator's report. Mr. Purnell.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, I just had a couple things to update you on. First is emergency rental assistance program. If you recall, we received funding in the amount of $15.8 million earlier this year. As of today, we have paid 1,194 tenants rents and or utilities and 368 unique landlords for a total of $5.2 million. 368 applications are currently submitted in some phase of review. This is kind of interesting, but 57% of the approved cases are under 30% of the AMI, showing that we are reaching the most vulnerable. Applications are weighted so that those under 30% AMI have an eviction notice and or are more than 90 days unemployed or reviewed first. Tenants can now be recertified to get additional rent and utility assistance. And as you recall, we received a second round of emergency rental assistance program, which is referred to as ER 882. Total funding for this program is $12,500,000, but we've received $5 million today. We're currently working with local leaders in the housing sector on a holistic emergency housing program focused on homeless families and others, case management, outreach, deposits, and rental assistance. We're hoping we can have something in place next month. And we also participated in the Greenville Homeless Alliance stakeholder meetings on Thursday that that is used to highlight the different programs and opportunities that we have as we go forward. In addition, our IT staff has just let us know that they have been working with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office to develop a web portal for Operation Safe Outcomes. This is a voluntary registry for those who are vulnerable. Operation Safe Outcomes allows the Sheriff's Office to obtain critical information on individuals who may have Alzheimer's disease, blindness, autism, Down syndrome, deafness, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, and or other developmental issues that may affect the way individuals interact and respond to law enforcement personnel. This information is obtained before an emergency involving these individuals and will assist law enforcement's interaction with those who are vulnerable. The tentative go live for this program is July 27th of this year. Caution notes, which are the alerts, will expire after 2 years. Users will get a reminder to renew 180 days out, 90 days out on the day of expiration. We're very excited. I do have the printed brochure that I can send you all. It's a very exciting program, and hopefully it will help our sheriff's officers do their job and keep our citizens safe. Thank you very much.
Right. Any questions that you have for Mr. Cornell? Okay, now we move to request motions by the council members. Mr. Fan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packet, we have put in an amendment to County Council Rule number 3E to help with the appearances in the meeting. You got that in your packet. I'm going to ask that we suspend the previous meeting publication rule so we can take this up tonight, which would require 8 votes versus 7.
So you're making a motion that we suspend the rule then?
So I can take it up, so we can take it up tonight, yes.
Okay. Everybody understand what we're doing? Would be all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Fan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have in your packet, per notice, and then we're going to add some friendly amendments that I got from council members. Propose an amendment to council rules that will establish a new public input forum for items not on the regular agenda. Now, this is the same one that the previous chairman, Mr. Kirby, had when we did COVID, and we just never codified it. So I used the same language. I did speak to some of you. Ms. Seaman offered some friendly amendments, and I talked to Mr. Tripp and some others. One would be to make sure we have the end of the meeting public input once a month. The chairman would pick the date. It would at least be an hour long. And if there's a healthy discussion and council members feel it needs to go beyond the hour, if a majority of council members decide let's run it on another 15 minutes or whatever, council has the discretion to do that. And the other one, instead of it would be a hybrid meeting, because we did take into consideration some people don't have internet, so people could come here to talk to council if they need to, but it'll also be available on Zoom as well. So I just kind of ran all that your list, right?
Any questions of Mr. Fan about what he has proposed?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment. I think what happened this evening underscores Mr. Fan's suggestion. We had 2 people sign up that wanted to speak on items not on the agenda, but they didn't stay here for this marathon meeting to be here and speak in person. So I think there's some merit to his suggestion.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so ordered.
That's got to be first. That got to be it.
You have anything else, Mr. Fan?
No, that's it.
I don't ever want to hear you have 6 votes against you.
Mr. Dugalakis, excuse me.
Amendment to what was in the packet?
Yes, that's an amendment to what? Do we need to vote on the
We now get a vote
Okay.
on the rules.
rules change as amended?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go back to the, we just did the amendment.
Look, man, I'm sorry to get that yes vote on something, y'all. I know what it is.
Now we have the motion as amended before us. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, now you're off the hook, Mr. Fan.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dugalakis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council. And I'm not going to make an amendment to my request here. But per my notice I provided in the council agenda packet, I request to have county council consider placing foundations of American law and government display at County Square. The display is set forth in state law and it contains 13 documents that play a significant role in the foundation of our system of law and government. Mr. Chairman, I request that this item be referred to the appropriate committee, please, sir.
All right, we'll do that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to take it in Public Works, because we've got a couple other things coming up our way, so happy to take it.
Okay, now we go to Ms. Norris.
Thank you. No, Mr. Ballard.
Leave Mr. Ballard, but her name was on it first, so go ahead with that.
Now, I move to reconsider the third reading of the fiscal 21-22 county budget ordinance.
So the motion is on the floor to reconsider the budget 21-22. All right, any comments or questions? All right, let's call the roll on that one.
Mr. Dell?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
No.
Mr. Meadows?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
No.
Ms. Norris? Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Fan?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
8 in favor, 4 opposed.
Okay, so the motion passes and the budget for 22-23 is on the floor. 21-22, I'm sorry. 21-22. All right.
No, he just did the motion to reconsider, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's Ms. Norris' turn?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Norris, if it's okay, and I certainly don't want to violate a rule, Mr. Tripp, Ms. Norris asked me to read her motion. So it needs to go in the record that it's coming from Ms. Norris, not me. I'm just reading it on her behalf. Do I have consent from y'all for that?
It was council's pleasure.
Okay.
I hear you decent.
I don't hear any decent. Okay. This is Ms. Norris with me reading. I move to amend the first year budget ordinance with the historic Natural Resources Trust Amendment that was included in your packet.
I think she's looking to reconsider the amendment which was rejected in second reading first when she puts the amendment up.
Now I'm reading exactly what you gave me. Okay, what we're trying to do is reconsider the Natural Resources Trust Amendment that was rejected. So I'm not carrying on these little funny words, but y'all know what we're doing.
Okay.
So it's back up.
Reconsidering.
So we got to move to reconsider that, right? That was rejected.
Back on the budget, she needs a motion to reconsider the vote which she was on the prevailing side on to put the historic.
All right, I got the top part. I move to reconsider the county's historic and natural resources trust amendment that was not adopted in the first year budget ordinance. On behalf of Ms. Norris.
Okay. All right, so this is the motion that's before us. Okay, Ms. McCaskill, call the roll.
Mr. Dell?
I like the one first. I vote yes.
Mr. Barnes?
No.
Mr. Meadows?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
The honor of voting yes for one of Mrs. Norris's amendments.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Jubilakis?
There they go, man.
I go ahead.
Yes.
We might as well tonight. I mean, this train's already gone.
I said yes.
This train.
I said yes. I said yes.
Mrs. Norris?
Yeah, you'll do your own thing, yeah.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Fan?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
10 in favor, 2 opposed.
All right, now that it's back on the floor, Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the first year budget ordinance with the Historic and Natural Resources Trust Amendment that was included in your packet. On behalf of Ms. Norris.
That's the same, in essence, it's the same amendment we passed
while ago for 23. Yes, we're just going back, putting it in 22.
Okay, without, everybody understand what the amendment is without me? Okay. All right, Ms. McCaskill, call the roll again.
Mr. Dale?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Meadows?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Dublitis?
Yes.
Ms. Norris? Ms. Norris?
She said yes.
She said yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Fan?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Kerwin?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
12 in favor, no one opposed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve the fiscal 21-22 budget ordinance as amended.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Mr. Kirby?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would call council's attention to 1 week from today at 11 a.m. on July the 27th. It's Tuesday, of course. There'll be a ceremony here at the council chambers presented by the Greenville County Veterans Affairs Office and the Korean War veterans and the other members of the Joint Veterans Council in honor of the recognition of the Korean War Armistice Day, which is a national undertaking to recognize the Armistice Day and those veterans who fought in the Korean War. And we asked everyone to attend. It's open to the public, and they would like to know if you'll tell the clerk if you do plan to attend, and we'll make appropriate arrangements for your attendance. If you'll let her know tomorrow sometime therefore, so we can have plans for everybody on July the 27th, next Tuesday at 11 a.m. here at the council chambers. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Mr. Tripp?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to thank my colleagues for their votes tonight. I know we've been divided across the board on a lot of stuff this year, but the longer I serve, the more I want to learn how to disagree and be agreeable while doing that. And I think that there's things that we can come together on as a council. I hope we can do that on 3.1. I think it's too important to this community for us to be divided on that. So I hope that we can spend some time and get together on that. Thank you for your votes on historic trust. I think that's something we've got to look at in Greenville County. And I look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman, Harper, and others on the committee.
Okay, Mr. Deal?
I have to agree with what Mr. Tripp said. This is really good night. I just sitting here thinking, it'd be a good time for all of us to hug and sing. Let's sing Kumbaya. But I want to thank y'all, or my people in my district, for the direction that we're going now, and I really appreciate that.
Okay, Mr. Barnes?
I thank everybody for the 3.1. I know it's been a hard fought battle, but I want you to understand that everybody's property rights matter. Also, that everybody's involved in this 3.1, so we need to consider each and every one. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shaw?
I agree with that, and I also want to say that last week we had a really good meeting out in Tigerville, Blue Ridge area. One bit of news is that Representative Burns and Senator Corbin have created by state statute, a zone called Blue Ridge Zone, and I would like to see that a special protection up there for rural agriculture, and that's really what I'm working for. I think that's the answer, instead of just one size fits all everywhere. I want everybody to have a zone that works for their zone. So that was my thoughts.
It's done.
All right. Mr. Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a couple things. I'll be brief. We've been here, it feels like weeks. But I want to also echo what Mr. Barnes said. While I supported Mr. Dill, and I do think, a lot of us have been rolling up our sleeves and working to find that kind of middle ground, and it is feasible and it's on the cusp. Spoke with Mr. Meadows as well. I think there are some good options moving forward that we can all be united and unified moving forward with 3.1. So I'm excited to get there. We will get there. Real quickly, also want to thank Councilman Fant for his comments earlier, even though we voted different ways on the convention center. He's exactly right. It's a very important issue, and I think there have been some long-term discussions, and I've spoken with Mr. Canelo, and I think I would just really like this council to, and I don't know what way, shape, or form we do that, but I'd really like to make it a point. It's very important to me, and I know several others, that it doesn't go away. And again, I know the budget doesn't, regardless of how you feel, that might or might not have been the answer either way. I just want to make a commitment that we figure out a long-term solution. So whether it's a resolution, whatever it is, we just need to do it. I'd really like council's support to make sure that doesn't go away. It can't go away. And lastly, I'd also like to request from Mr. Cannell that he and his great staff, and Paula and Joan and all the engineering team over there, with all the legislative stuff that's gone on lately with the fees and all that stuff that I'm sure everyone's heard about by this point. I would really like for those of us that are new or haven't been involved in that side of things for years, I would really like a presentation to council, numbers-based presentation of exactly what we've lost, maybe the match dollars that are out there from federal and state money, just a pure numbers-based financial report of the road situation in Greenville. What is the ideal number? Where have we been operating at? What did we just lose? What could we lose? I think that's very important for us moving forward and coming up with the best solution. So I'll request that of Mr. Cornell if the council would entertain that and listen to that report. I think it would be informative for all of us. That's all I got. Thank you, everyone, for a long, good meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that I was speaking to a citizen today on the phone, and I concluded with that phone call with everybody on this council. I can't speak for y'all, but I believe we all want the best for Greenville, South Carolina. And we may not get there sometime the way you out there look at us, and we may not get there sometime the way you want us to get there. But there's not a person up here that doesn't care about this county and doesn't love this county. And I just think that needs to be said. I can't speak for all of them. I believe it from my heart that is true. I know it is from me. So I just want to publicly say I love Greenville. And we love the city of Greenville. And we want the best for Greenville. And we want the best for citizens. And a lot of people have been living here a long time. And there's a lot of people up here been living here a long time. And we want the best. So I want you to know that. And I want the county council to know that. Although we may not always agree, we all want the best for Greenville. So, thank you.
Ms. Stevens, you lifted up for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. One, just thank you to all the citizens who came out tonight. And for those of you who are watching online, it was a long night, but this is what it's all about. And just appreciate you all. Even if we were on opposite sides of an issue, it's important that we hear your voice. And so please continue to come because the issues will continue to be important. So thank you for that. I also want to acknowledge all of our staff. A lot was said tonight about our planning staff as it related to 3.1, but all of our staff, just thank you for what you do every day to make this county work, and thank you for lending your expertise to make us look good, frankly. Everything happens in spite of the elected officials here. We're not experts in anything. So appreciate the staff. Mr. Cornell and Mr. Harris, let me say thank you for your comments in the conference center, and Dr. Fant. Just please know that even if we say that we want it, we've got to take some action to show that we want it. We are losing business, and to your point, I just could you just publicly, Mr. Cornell, affirm that you have had conversations with the city and that we would have interest in the long-term viability of that facility as a conference center?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, yes, we've had a couple of conversations now over the years. We've had several, but just lately, in fact, Chairman Meadows, Councilman representatives of the city and talked about this exact thing, and then we followed up with staff meetings with city manager and their senior staff. So it is in process. I don't know where it'll go, but we're working on it to try to come to a solution.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that, and just would request as those conversations are ongoing, the importance of keeping it open even while we're in negotiations, because business that we lose will not come back, and so it's important. Just one more question to Mr. Cornell. The other, I think, thing that you've probably all seen in the paper regarding the Swamp Rabbit Trail and the bridges, and just confirm our commitment to the future of the trail, regardless of what the bridge issue is on the city side.
The county will be constructing the paved portion of the trail once the city of Greenville decides what they want to do with the bridges. As you know, it's the county's trail, it's the county's property, and the city had come to us requesting that they be allowed to put some bridges in. So they're working through that right now. I think they're talking about perhaps 2 bridges, maybe 3. But once they do that, that has to happen first, and as soon as those bridges, the approaches are complete, then we'll come in with the asphalt and overlay.
Thank you, because again, another important economic development tool that we have throughout the county, and just want to make sure that our portion continues to move forward. Thank you. Do I have the honors?
No, wait, no,
Oh, sorry, I tried.
how you starting out here?
They've already left.
No, they started with Mr. Kerwin. Ms. Norris been on me about something all night long, and I want her to say it.
I tried.
Are you gonna speak for her or this?
No, she gonna speak for herself, because it's in her district.
Okay, Ms. Norris.
And I would like to make sure that I think Mr. Cannell can understand, I do have a lot of problems in New Washington Heights because of decisions we made with moving our building that we had near here, and it is now in New Washington Heights. And don't look at me strange, you understand what I'm talking about, Chairman. And so I'm working with them to make sure that we can work out some things. They feel like that we did the wrong thing, we went ahead and put a building up there without their asking, and I've said everything I can. I said, this is the place where you can go and get a job because it's close to you. They don't like that, okay? And so I do have problems with them, and they do not like me for that. But I'm used to that. I'm 92 years old, and I'm used to people not liking me, and it doesn't upset me, because I know that when I make decisions, I sit down and actually think about it. And if I look at all the ones and the students that I have worked with through the years, I've done a good job. And my family can tell you that, because we worked together for years. So what I'm saying is, we love all of you, and I know we all have to work to what we think is best. I know some of you are new people that I've been here a long time, and I'm not going to change some of the things, because I have taught these people, I taught some of you out there, and I have worked with some of you. Now, you new people that are on here, you got to learn how to work with me, because I'm trying to work with you, okay? I love all of you. Bye-bye.
Mr. Fanny, you want to talk again, or you finished tonight?
You know I got one other thing I got to do at the end, right? It's coming. It's coming. No, seriously, good meeting tonight, quite lengthy. I mean, like, really long. But tonight was won some, lost some. I think tonight, if you go back and look at the votes, it's probably the most diverse vote combinations of the year. Normally they all say that, but it was quite diverse. I think it's the first night that I voted to out of both Mr. Harrison and Mr. Tripp on the same night. Put a little date down by that. I used to keep a big bottle of Excedrin in my console with bottled water that I take as soon as I get in the car when I leave this meeting. This is the first meeting Mr. Canal, this year, that I don't have a headache, that I'm actually just gonna leave and go to the house. And even though it's the longest meeting of the year. But, I applaud everybody, found some good common ground. And this is what a republic form of democracy is supposed to, how it works. It's supposed to how it works. And so I applaud each of you, and I got my one last thing, I have to give my ST-TAC update, report. And this is a big one. We had the big budget, and the governor vetoed a lot of items, and vetoed a big one at ST-TAC, but with the legislature and its wisdom overrode the veto. So I'm pleased to announce that ST-TAC has received an appropriation of $9 million from the state of South Carolina for the installation of a rescue gear on Donaldson Field. This key public infrastructure investment by the state positions ST-TAC to receive other types of fighter jet contracts in the future, in addition to supporting the F-16 production and sustainment work already underway at Lockheed Martin. And of course, when people do good work, you need to applaud them and say thank you. So I'd like to acknowledge and thank Representative Bruce Bannister and the entire Greenville County Legislative Delegation for their support and hard work in securing this critical funding for ST-TAC. Now that concludes my report for tonight.
You want to make a motion to adjourn?
No, you still got it.
Do I get to talk tonight?
I don't know.
Well, it's 6 minutes till 9. I could talk for 6 minutes, and then we close right on the hour, but I'll spare you that. I just want to say one thing, to echo what a lot of the fellows, a lot of the members have said around the dais this evening. It's been an interesting meeting. We've had ups and downs, we've had disagreements, but we've come to some significant decisions tonight. And one of the best is the fact that I think we took a giant step towards keeping